Welcome again, guys, to another episode of Ask Shane. So this week, we're looking at a question that I actually feel that so many people experience, and this is a very double-edged sword. It's about empathy. Okay, so the question come in via one of our videos: is it mediumship? Is it psychic abilities, or is it something else? Lady called Bridget wrote to us and said, "Thank you, Shane, for your input and insight. I would love to hear more about what being an empath means and what you may have experienced on your journey along the way." This is really, vitally important to kind of shed some light on and to sit with and connect with. There is such a difference between having a psychic ability or being sensitive to being empathic. I think that the real, for me, and it is for me, for the real difference between all of those things. So at that level, at that point, I've said before, spirit are not a lover of labels. However, it's really important to discern the differences. And I really, really know that empathy can be really challenging to live with, okay? Because it's the difference between picking up on information to feeling it and knowing it. I spend a lot of my time bridging those two worlds. I also spend a lot of my time, showing people that we actually can bridge those worlds, and importantly, we can kind of access the information from inside of us to our greatest and biggest challenges. And how we do that, or how I do that, how I spend a lot of my time doing that is feeling it and knowing it. And I think that, the innate and spirit described this once as like walking around without a layer of skin. It's like standing in sunlight without a layer of skin. You feel everything that you come into contact with. And I know that growing up as a child, that was incredibly challenging for me. You would walk into a room and you would feel anxiety. You would look at somebody and you would know that they're feeling really heartbroken inside, even though they're smiling at you. You would sense that someone was lying. It was amplified information. It was knowing, but with a huge level of conviction. It was feeling the pain as if it was your own, which goes back to that sense of walking around without a layer of skin. You haven't got the filtration. So growing up, walking into a room or walking into the classroom at school and feeling all that kind of emotion, all that kind of surging of anxiety, and not knowing the difference between the people around you and what they're anxious with and your own. It's like you could walk into a room and you've got two or three friends who are experiencing anxiety, and then it enhances and escalates your own threefold. And at that level, at that point, you have to try to discern what is you and what is someone else. And I can remember as a child, the only time that I got peace, and I didn't know this till I was an adult. It was looking back and understanding the journey and mentoring and giving the talks that I do and working at the level I do. I understood that, looking back, that as a child, that the only time that I would get peace from that level of intensity or from a level of that feeling was when I was in the middle of nowhere. I would go off into the woodlands in the middle of nowhere, and predominantly when I was alone and by myself, which meant that there was no kind of influence around me. I wasn't feeling and picking up on, and I wasn't absorbing all that psychic energy. There is a video, and I will put a link to this video. It's a video I done some time ago about psychic stress and just who is Dr. Amuto. I really encourage all of you to that are interested in this, or even being challenged by it, to absolutely watch that video, okay? Because I believe that you can experience psychic stress. Well, I absolutely know you can experience psychic stress, and that is really what empathy is. And empathy also, is a double-edged sword, because, you can look at somebody and their behaviour may be just awful towards you within your own life. But because you have empathy, you connect to the pain that is driving the behaviour, and sometimes that holds you bound in a sense of obligation or in a sense of duty to that situation, and I've learned over the years that even though pain is driving that, it is the behaviour that needs to be kind of looked into, as well as what is driving it, the pain that's driving it. And also, it doesn't mean that it's correct or right, because someone's behaviour is driven through pain, it doesn't mean that it's also acceptable. But as an empath, you kind of just empathise with that pain, and therefore you hold yourself there and you keep going, you keep trying to help that person, or you take the bad behaviour, you take the kind of trauma or the abuse, because you empathise with the pain that's driving that kind of behaviour. And I think the key really to establish, and the key and foundation to really nurture if you are empathic by nature, is know absolutely it is a double-edged sword, and absolutely know that the course of action to take is strengthen your sense of self. Keep strengthening your sense of self. So, for me as a child, going off into the middle of the woods was a time where I got peace, and I wasn't feeling all of that kind of psychic energy, although of course as a child I never understood it. It's just that everything quietened down for me, and I felt my most happiest or my most settled. And what it was I was reconnecting back to self. And even to this day, I connect with many people this side of life and the other side of life, and I still know how healthy it is to take myself off into the middle of nowhere from time to time to reset, to replenish, to recharge myself on a physical, emotional and spiritual level. It's about kind of strengthening your own needs, your own self, and having that good strong foundation of sense of self, and where your needs lie from day to day. It's vital to be able to function. Yet, we're kind of brought up in a world where, we're conditioned to feel a little bit odd if we need that quiet or solitude. I think it's about claiming and knowing who you are as a person, really staying close to it and what absolutely feels right for you, and flowing and moving with it. I love to connect with people. Here I am sharing. I love to share, I love to connect, but I also know that, we need to find our sense of self from time to time. And actually, not just from time to time. I think that it needs to be woven into the fabric of the way that we live. That sense of quiet, that sense of reflection, that sense of just evaluating, allowing ourselves to just be and breathe, is vital. So empathy is a very powerful thing, and it's not to be underestimated how it can affect people. I know I'm not just a medium. I know that there's absolutely an empathic trait that moves through me, which is why I can connect with people at the level I can, in the way that I can. And I see it with um, several people around me. And it's about nourishing and nurturing it. How can you switch it off? I think it's not about switching it off, it's about strengthening who you are so that you can move with it and work with it. And really kind of digesting some of these um, thoughts and approaches. All these is thoughts, feelings, and experiences that I just want to stir up with you. So that was a really important question, Bridget. Thank you, Shane, for your input and insight. I would love to hear more about what being an empath means and what you may have experienced along your journey along the way. Hope that's given you food for thought, guys. And keep the questions coming. Over the coming weeks, we've got a few more to explore, and hope that has helped. I think the biggest thing to know if you are empathic, self-care. I've said it many times before, but kind of rooting, grounding, exercise, taking salt baths, all those things, kind of allowing yourself to rest, allowing yourself to connect but also have quiet time. It's about the kind of balance. Remember, and I've said this before, we're human beings, not human doings. Okay, sometimes we just need to be and know that it's okay to walk our own path. It's okay to follow our own rhythms, rather than feel obliged. I think that's the biggest thing with being an empath. We feel obliged to keep everybody happy. What about keeping ourselves happy? And empathic by nature, feeling that the person is completely lost or in immense pain, even though their behaviour might be off, we go in there because we feel the empathic kind of connection, we feel that sense of pain, and we want to gently kind of rescue them. It's not about rescuing somebody, sometimes it's about rescuing ourselves. And the other thing is, I've said this many times, someone said to me recently, a while ago, a little time ago, Shane, do you help people? And my answer was no. I don't help people, I help them to help themselves. And I think that's the thing, when you're empathic, you feel a sense of responsibility for the pain around you. Take care of you, look after you too, okay, and keep shining that light. Links will be within this video. Some of you have asked about the members area as well. Very, very exciting. Yes, we have a members area within the website www.shanegad.com. Within that, there is a whole library of resources that extend far greater than what we have here on YouTube. We have a forum, we have some live streams as well, live events. It is a community that I know is only but going to grow, and the idea is that it becomes a learning hub. I'm going to leave all that with you. Speak very soon. Take care. See you next week.